Now let's get on with chapter 24 of Katzeng's board reviews. This chapter is about anti-seizure drugs or anti-epileptic drugs. So epilepsy comprises a group of chronic syndromes that involve the recurrence of seizures, that is limited periods of abnormal discharge of cerebral neurons. So effective anti-seizure drugs have to varying degrees selective depressant actions on such abnormal neuronal activity. However, they vary in terms of their mechanisms of action and their effectiveness in specific seizure disorders. Moving on to the classification of anti-seizure drugs. So, you basically have four groups of anti-seizure drugs. You use them for tonic-clonic and partial seizures. So, drugs that fall under this category include carbamazepine, lamotrigine, phenytoin, and valproic acid. So, tonic-clonic for tonic-clonic TC. Okay, you give TC to a student when you want him to get out. Okay, and get out in Telugu is Vellipo. So Vellipo or valproic acid. Okay, so again L, catch the L and get lamotrigine. Vellipo Lamborghini lo, so lamotrigine. Okay, catch the C and get carbamazepine. Okay, so for the Lamborghini you need petrol, right? So P, phenytoin. So tonic-clonic seizures, tonic-clonic TC, you are giving TC, you are telling the person to go. So Vellipo, valproic acid, Vellipo in what? In a Lamborghini car. So lamotrigine or lamotrigine or trigine, whatever. And then the car needs petrol, so P for phenytoin. And then C here again for carbamazepine. And then for absence seizures, you use clonazepam. Okay, when you don't have a twin, in movies they try to clone a twin, right? So when there is an absence of a twin in movies, and especially in science fiction movies, they try to clone a twin. So clonazepam. Okay, again valproic acid comes here as well in absence seizures, because if you give a TC, that person is no longer present in the school, he's absent. So valproic acid and ethosuximide as well. Okay, because people used to think that space was full of ether or ethos. So ethosuximide, absence. Okay, absence, empty space. Next, you have myoclonic seizures. So again, clone, you can use clonazepam, lamotrigine, and valproic acid. Okay, immediately if your muscles are not working, you rush to the doctor. So you Vellipo in a Lamborghini car to the doctor, and clonic, so you use clonazepam. And backup and adjunctive drugs, you use felbamate, gabapentin, okay, lamotrigine again, and you use levetiracetam and all these other drugs. Okay, we'll discuss the important ones later. Moving on to the pharmacokinetics. So anti-seizure drugs are commonly used for long periods of time to prevent recurrence of seizures, and consideration of their pharmacokinetic properties is important for avoiding toxicity and drug interactions. For some of these drugs, such as phenytoin, determination of plasma levels and clearance in individual patients may be necessary for optimum therapy. In general, anti-seizure drugs are well absorbed orally, have good bioavailability, and cross the blood-brain barrier readily, because you need it to affect the activities of CNS neurons, depress their abnormal functions. You need it to go into the CNS, so you need it to cross the blood-brain barrier easily. Okay, and you need them to be well absorbed orally, because when a person is suffering from epilepsy, you can't immediately on the scene give intravenous drugs or any injections or anything, right? You need to give them orally. Most anti-seizure drugs are metabolized by hepatic enzymes. Exceptions include gabapentin and vigabatrin. All of these fall under the adjunctive and backup drugs category. And in some cases, active metabolites are formed. Resistance to anti-seizure drugs may involve increased expression of drug transporters at the level of the blood-brain barrier. Pharmacokinetic drug interactions are common in this drug group. In the presence of drugs that inhibit anti-seizure drug metabolism or displace anticonvulsants from plasma protein binding sites, plasma concentrations of the anti-seizure agents may reach toxic levels. So in the presence of drugs that inhibit the drug metabolism, the anti-epileptic drug metabolism, or they displace it from the plasma protein. If this is the plasma protein, they displace the drug from the binding site, causing an increase in the plasma concentration. It might reach toxic levels. On the other hand, drugs that induce hepatic metabolizing enzymes such as rifampin may result in plasma levels of the anti-seizure agents that are inadequate for seizure control. Several anti-seizure drugs are themselves capable of inducing hepatic drug metabolism, especially carbamazepine and phenytoin. That is why you need to calculate the concentration of plasma levels and clearance of phenytoin for optimum therapy. So, starting with phenytoin, the oral bioavailability of phenytoin is variable because of individual differences in first pass metabolism. So, rapid onset release and extended release oral forms and a parenteral form are available. Phenytoin metabolism is non-linear. Elimination kinetics shift from first order to zero order at moderate to high dose levels. So first it is first order, then it shifts to zero order at high levels. For what drug or for which drug? Phenytoin. So the metabolism is non-linear. The drug binds extensively to plasma proteins, and free unbound phenytoin levels in plasma are increased transiently by drugs that compete for plasma protein binding sites such as carbamazepine, sulfonamides and valproic acid. The metabolism of phenytoin is enhanced in the presence of inducers of liver metabolism, for example phenobarbital and rifampin, and inhibited by other drugs such as cimetidine and isoniazid. Phenytoin itself induces hepatic drug metabolism, decreasing the effects of other anti-epileptic drugs such as carbamazepine, clonazepam and lamotrigine. Fosphenytoin is a water-soluble prodrug form of phenytoin that is used parenterally. What is that? Fosphenytoin. So before moving on to carbamazepine, okay, let's talk about that first. So carbamazepine induces the formation of liver drug metabolizing enzymes that increase the metabolism of the drug itself and may increase the clearance of many other anticonvulsant drugs including clonazepam, lamotrigine and valproic acid. So carbamazepine metabolism can be inhibited by other drugs such as propoxyphene and valproic acid. So a related drug, oxycarbazepine, is less likely to be involved in drug interactions. Then we have valproic acid. So in addition to competing for phenytoin plasma protein binding sites, valproic acid inhibits the metabolism of carbamazepine, ethoxysuccinimide, phenytoin, phenobarbital and lamotrigine. So valproic acid basically inhibits the metabolism of everything else and also competes with phenytoin for the binding sites on plasma proteins. Hepatic biotransformation of valproic acid leads to the formation of a toxic metabolite that has been implicated in the hepatotoxicity of the drug. Valproic acid, there is hepatotoxicity because of its active metabolite. Other drugs, so you have gabapentin, pregabalin, levetiracetam and vigabatrin. They are all unusual in that they are eliminated by the kidney largely in unchanged form. These agents have virtually no drug-drug interactions. So tiazepam, topiramate and zonisamide. So topi, which is hat in Hindi, in the proper zone. So tiazepam or tiazepam and topiramate, okay, and zone for zonisamide, they undergo both hepatic metabolism and renal elimination of the intact drug. So perampanel has a long half-life and is metabolized by CYP3A4 and subsequent glucuronidation. So lamotrigine is eliminated via hepatic glucuronidation. Reticabine is eliminated by both glucuronidation and acetylation. Okay, rendu, both. So moving on to certain high yield terms to learn. So seizures are finite episodes of brain dysfunction resulting from abnormal discharge of cerebral neurons. So when your cerebral neurons discharge abnormally, okay, then you have seizures. Focal seizures were formerly called partial onset seizures, and they include simple partial onset, complex partial and partial generalized. So partial seizures, simple. So the consciousness is preserved in simple partial seizures. They are manifested variously as convulsive jerking, paresthesia, psychic symptoms, altered sensorium, illusions, hallucinations, affect changes and autonomic dysfunction, but consciousness is preserved. Whereas in complex partial seizures, there is impaired consciousness that is preceded, accompanied or followed by psychological symptoms. Then in tonic-clonic seizures or generalized seizures, there is a tonic phase less than 1 minute, involves abrupt loss of consciousness, muscle rigidity, the tone and respiratory arrest, because respiratory muscles again are in a phase of tone, partial contraction due to asynchronous gamma motor neuron discharge. You'd remember that from physiology. And then there is a clonic phase of 2 to 3 minutes involving jerking of body muscles with lip or tongue biting and fecal and urinary incontinence, formerly called grand mal epilepsy or grand mal seizures. Then you have absence seizures are generalized. So impaired consciousness is present, often abrupt onset and brief, sometimes with automatisms, loss of postural tone, or enuresis, which usually begins in childhood, formerly petit mal, usually cease by 20 years. Myoclonic seizures are single or multiple myoclonic muscle jerks, and status epilepticus is a series of seizures, usually tonic-clonic, without recovery of consciousness between attacks, and it is a life-threatening emergency. Moving on to the mechanisms of action. The general effect of anti-seizure drugs is to suppress repetitive action potentials in epileptic foci in the brain. So many different mechanisms are involved in achieving this effect. Sodium channel blockade is one because, see, if this is a neuron, these are the dendrites, and this is your axon, and all these other tails. So you have the myelin sheath, and you learnt in class 12 that at the nodes of Ranvier where the myelin sheath is absent, there is a high concentration or high density of sodium channels. So if you block them, there won't be any saltatory conduction that is happening, so you are depressing the abnormal hyperactive neuronal activity which is causing the seizures. So we'll discuss about a figure which illustrates two other major strategies other than sodium channel blockade, which is enhancement of inhibitory GABA synapses and inhibition of excitatory glutamate activity. Inhibit excitatory glutamate activity or promote or enhance inhibitory GABA synapses. In some cases, several mechanisms may contribute to the anti-seizure activity of an individual drug. Some of the recognized mechanisms, we'll discuss them now. So first, sodium channel blockade, which is obvious common sense. So at therapeutic concentrations, you have phenytoin, you have carbamazepine, you have lacosamide, lamotrigine, and zonisamide that block the voltage-gated sodium channels in the neuronal membranes. Okay, so this is your node, myelin and nodes of Ranvier. So this is a zone. Okay, so zonisamide. At this zone, you're blocking the sodium channels. So at this zone, okay, you're sending your Lamborghini. So lamotrigine, and it is going fast. It has petrol. So phenytoin. Okay. So what is your Lamborghini? It's a car. So carbamazepine. So sodium channels means you need to remember that they are present in high densities in the nodes of Ranvier. So it is a zone. Okay. So at this zone, so you use zonisamide, and then you are sending Lamborghini or car. So carbamazepine and lamotrigine, and it's going fast. It has petrol. So phenytoin. They block the voltage-gated sodium channels in the neuronal membranes. Topiramate may also act in part by this mechanism. This action is rate dependent. That is, the block increases with increased frequency of neuronal discharge and results in the prolongation of the inactivated state of the sodium channel and the refractory period of the neuron. So phenobarbital and valproic acid may exert similar effects at high doses. Next, you have promotion of inhibitory GABA synapses. So benzodiazepines interact with specific receptors on the GABA-A chloride ion channel and macromolecular complex. In the presence of benzodiazepines, the frequency of chloride ion channel opening is increased. These drugs facilitate the inhibitory effects of GABA. So phenobarbital. Phenobarbital and other barbiturates also enhance the inhibitory actions of GABA but interact with the different receptor site on chloride ion channels that results in an increased duration of chloride ion channel opening. So GABA aminotransaminase or GABA T transaminase is an important enzyme in the termination action of GABA. So T for termination, T for transaminase. The enzyme is irreversibly inactivated by vigabatrin at therapeutic plasma levels and can also be inhibited by valproic acid at high concentrations. So tiazabine inhibits a GABA transporter GAT1 in neurons and glia, prolonging the action of the neurotransmitter. So you are basically inhibiting substances that inactivate it. Therefore, you are prolonging the action of GABA in an abnormally discharging neuron. So you are inhibiting the neuron. Gabapentin is a structural analog of GABA, but it does not activate GABA receptors directly. Other drugs that may facilitate the inhibitory actions of GABA include felbamate, topiramate, and valproic acid. Valproic acid is always negative in case of seizures. Okay, so negative inhibition. So it promotes inhibitory effects. Next, you have calcium channel blockade. So ethosuximide inhibits slow threshold T-type or transient type calcium currents, especially in the thalamic neurons that act as pacemakers to generate rhythmic cortical discharge. A similar action is reported for valproic acid as well as for both gabapentin and pregabalin, and it may be the primary action of the latter drugs, especially at glutamate nerve terminals. So let us just look at this figure. So in panel A, you can see molecular targets for anti-seizure drugs at the inhibitory GABAergic synapse. These include specific targets, especially GAT1. Okay, here you have tiazepine, and you have in the second position here GABA T, so vigabatrin, and then you have GABA A receptors here, so benzodiazepines, and GABA B receptors here potentially, and also synaptic vesicular proteins, so SV2A. So effects may also be mediated by non-specific targets such as by voltage-gated ion channels and synaptic proteins. So in panel B, here you can see molecular targets for anti-seizure drugs at the excitatory glutaminergic synapse. So first let us discuss the theory and then we'll look at the diagram. So glutamate synapses and other mechanisms. So levetiracetam, okay, binds the SV2A protein on glutamate containing transmitter vesicles and reduces glutamate release. In addition to its action on calcium channels, valproic acid causes neuronal membrane hyperpolarization. So valproic acid always negative, right? So this is depolarization, right? And this causes prolonged hyperpolarization. So it causes neuronal membrane hyperpolarization, possibly by enhancing K plus channel permeability. So retigabine or ezogabine also enhances K plus channel activity and inhibits depolarization of glutamate terminals. Perampanel is a non-competitive antagonist at glutamate AMPA receptors and may be particularly effective in preventing the spread of abnormal excitation in susceptible neurons. Felbamate blocks glutamate NMDA receptors. Although phenobarbital acts on both sodium channels and GABA chloride channels, it also acts as an antagonist at some glutamate receptors. Topiramate blocks sodium channels and potentiates the actions of GABA and may also block glutamate receptors. Okay, so here you can see now the diagram related to GABA. So presynaptic targets diminishing glutamate release include, first here you have the voltage gated sodium channels. So you have phenytoin, carbamazepine, lamotrigine and lacosamide that act on it. Okay, we discussed this in the sodium channel drugs. So at this zone, okay, you're sending your car, so carbamazepine, it is a Lamborghini, so lamotrigine, fastly, so phenytoin. Next you have in the second position voltage gated calcium channels, so ethosuximide, lamotrigine and all those things, gabapentin and pregabalin. And you have something that blocked the K plus channels, so retigabine, synaptic vesicle proteins, so SV2A, levetiracetam. Okay, and you also have other proteins, but that is just beyond the scope of this discussion. So here you can look at the skill keepers, of which of the mechanisms of action of anti-seizure drugs have theoretical implications regarding their activity in cardiac arrhythmias, and recall any clinical uses of anti-seizure drugs in the management of cardiac arrhythmias. So let us discuss that later. Moving on to the clinical uses of anti-epileptic drugs. So diagnosis of a specific seizure type is important for prescribing the most appropriate anti-seizure drug or combination of drugs. Drug choice is usually made on the basis of established efficacy in the specific seizure state that has been diagnosed, the prior responsiveness of the patient, and the anticipated toxicity of the drug and possible drug interactions. Treatment may involve combinations of drugs following the principle of adding known effective agents if the preceding drugs are not sufficient. Moving on to generalized tonic-clonic seizures, valproic acid, carbamazepine and phenytoin are the drugs of choice for generalized clonic-tonic or tonic-clonic grand mal seizures. Okay, so grand mal seizures, if you want to make a grand entrance, you need to be fast, so phenytoin. You need to have a car, so carbamazepine. And what do? Well, so valproic acid. So they are the drugs of choice for generalized tonic-clonic grand mal seizures. So immediately when you think of tonic-clonic, remember grand mal. If you want a grand entrance, you need a car, so carbamazepine, it needs to go fast, so phenytoin. And what do? You go so valproic acid. So phenobarbital or primidone is now considered to be an alternative agent in adults but continues to be a primary drug in infants. So what is that? Phenobarbital. So lamotrigine, levetiracetam, lacosamide and topiramate are also approved drugs for this indication, and several others may be used adjunctively in refractory cases. Moving on to focal or partial seizures, the drugs of first choice are carbamazepine, lamotrigine or phenytoin. Okay, carbamazepine, phenytoin, but the extra thing here is lamotrigine in focal seizures at the zone. Okay, so alternatively, the alternatives include felbamate, phenobarbital, topiramate and valproic acid. Many of the newer anticonvulsants can be used adjunctively, including gabapentin and pregabalin, a structural congener. Other drugs used in focal seizures include levetiracetam and perampanel. Because of its retinal toxicity, retigabine is used only when other agents are not effective in focal seizures. So it has focal toxicity in the retina, as the name indicates, retigabine, retinal toxicity. So it is used in focal seizures only when other agents are not effective. Moving on to absence seizures, so ethosuximide or valproic acid, there's nothing, right? So ethosuximide or valproic acid are preferred drugs because they cause minimal sedation. Ethosuximide is often used in uncomplicated absence seizures if patients can tolerate its gastrointestinal side effects. Valproic acid is particularly useful in patients who have concomitant generalized tonic-clonic or myoclonic seizures. Clonazepam is effective as an alternative drug but has the disadvantages of causing sedation and tolerance. So lamotrigine, levetiracetam and zonisamide are also effective in absence seizures. And moving on to myoclonic and atypical absence syndromes. So myoclonic seizure syndromes are usually treated with valproic acid. Lamotrigine is approved for adjunctive use but is commonly used as monotherapy. Clonazepam can be effective but the high doses required cause drowsiness. Levetiracetam, topiramate and zonisamide are also used as backup drugs in myoclonic syndromes. Felbamate has been used adjunctively with the primary drugs but has both hematotoxic and hepatotoxic potential. Next, status epilepticus. So intravenous diazepam or lorazepam is usually effective in terminating attacks and providing short-term control. For prolonged therapy, intravenous phenytoin has often been used because it is highly effective and less sedating than benzodiazepines or barbiturates. However, phenytoin may cause cardiotoxicity because of its solvent propylene glycol, and phospheniton, water soluble, is a safer parenteral agent. Phenobarbital has also been used in status epilepticus, especially in children. You use phenobarbital in children. In very severe status epilepticus that does not respond to these measures, general anesthesia may be used. But in status epilepticus, what do? IV diazepam for immediate short-term control, and then IV phenytoin for prolonged long-term control. Okay, DP. Next, moving on to the other clinical uses, several anti-seizure drugs are effective in the management of bipolar affective disorders, especially valproic acid, which is now often used as a first-line drug in the treatment of mania. Valproic acid, okay, so we talked about it. It mostly has inhibitory effects. It prolongs the inhibition of inhibitory synapses by GABA and causes hyperpolarization. Okay, valproic acid, all inhibitory effects. So it is used in the treatment of mania. When reactivity is more, so you inhibit it by using valproic acid. Carbamazepine and lamotrigine have also been used successfully in bipolar disorder. Carbamazepine is a drug of choice for trigeminal neuralgia, and its congener oxcarbazepine may provide similar analgesia with fewer adverse effects. Gabapentin has efficacy in pain of neuropathic origin, including post-therapeutic neuralgia, and like phenytoin may have some value in migraine. Topiramate is also used in the treatment of migraine, and pregabalin is also approved for neuropathic pain. Moving on to the toxicity. So chronic therapy with anti-seizure drugs is associated with specific toxic effects, the most important of which are listed in a table. We'll discuss that. So teratogenicity. Children born of mothers taking several anticonvulsant drugs have an increased risk of congenital malformations. So neural tube defects such as spina bifida are associated with the use of valproic acid. Carbamazepine has been implicated as a cause of craniofacial anomalies and spina bifida, and a fetal Hydantoin syndrome has been described after phenytoin use by pregnant women. Okay, so you use pregnant, everything becomes fast. So Hydra or whatever it is, so Hydantoin syndrome. And then neural tube defects because of valproic acid. Overdosage toxicity. So most of the commonly used anticonvulsants are seen as depressants, and respiratory depression may occur with overdosage. Management is primarily supportive, so airway management, mechanical ventilation, and flumazenil may be used in benzodiazepine overdose. Then life-threatening toxicity, so fatal hepatotoxicity has occurred with valproic acid, everything inhibitory, okay? So with greatest risk to children younger than 2 years of age and patients taking multiple anticonvulsant drugs. Lamotrigine has caused skin rashes and life-threatening Stevens-Johnson syndrome or toxic epidermal necrolysis. So children are at higher risk, especially if they are also taking valproic acid. So zonisamide may also cause severe skin reactions. Reports of aplastic anemia and acute hepatic failure have limited the use of felbamate to severe refractory seizure states. Moving on to the withdrawal. So withdrawal from anti-seizure drugs should be accomplished gradually to avoid increased seizure frequency and severity. In general, withdrawal from anti-abstinence drugs is more easily accomplished than withdrawal from drugs used in partial or generalized tonic-clonic or grand mal seizure states. Here you can see the adverse effects and complications of anti-epileptic drugs. You don't need to remember all of them. Most of them, they have dizziness in common. Okay. Here you can see dizziness again. Dizziness or drowsiness, especially those that cause sedation, such as benzodiazepines. You don't use them more because they cause sedation, tolerance, and dependence. Carbamazepine, it causes diplopia. Okay, and then ethosuximide, it causes gastrointestinal distress. That is why you give it to a patient with absence seizures only if he is able to tolerate the gastrointestinal side effects. Felbamate, as reported, causes aplastic anemia and hepatic failure. Gabapentin, again dizziness, sedation, ataxia, and all that. Lamotrigine, same. And levetiracetam, same again. So phenytoin, okay, it is implicated in teratogenic effects, especially Hydantoin syndrome. And also it causes nystagmus, diplopia, sedation, gingival hyperplasia, hirsutism, and all that. Okay, valproic acid again. So especially in infants or as a teratogenic side effect, there are neural tube defects such as spina bifida, and then there is drowsiness, nausea, tremor, hair loss, weight gain, hepatotoxicity in infants, and inhibition of hepatic drug metabolism. Okay, so finally let's look at the skill keeper answer. So the voltage gated sodium channels in neurons closely resemble those in cardiac cells. So drugs that exert anti-seizure actions via their blockade of sodium channels in the CNS have the potential for a similar action in the heart. So delayed recovery of sodium channels from their inactivated state subsequently slows the rising phase of the action potential in sodium dependent fibers and characteristic of group 1 antiarrhythmic drugs. So in theory, anti-seizure drugs that block calcium ion channels might also have properties akin to those of group 4 antiarrhythmic drugs. All the neuronal calcium channels differ from those in the heart. So in practice, the only anti-seizure drug that has been used in cardiac arrhythmias is phenytoin, which has characteristics similar to those of group 1b antiarrhythmic drugs. So phenytoin has been used for arrhythmias resulting from cardiac glycoside overdose and for ventricular arrhythmias unresponsive to lidocaine. Okay, so this is all about this chapter.